Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 2. I am Frank Cizadet, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakodwan. Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal government approves 2022 intervention funds for public universities, others. INEC says CVR fresh registration has hit 8.8 million. Plus, UN says more evacuations from besieged Ukraine city will be carried out today. Details of the stories and more in a moment. First in our news today is a report that federal government has approved the 2022 intervention funds for the public higher institutions across the country. Executive Secretary of Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TETFund, Sunday Echono, made this known while receiving the Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities in his office. Echono said the meeting of all beneficiary institutions will be held by next week Monday to interact further on the proposed reforms that have been approved for implementation. He assured the Vice Chancellors of the Fund's commitment to sustain the ongoing reforms in the sector, with increased emphasis on the content of its interventions, particularly in the areas of research, ICT, and in the areas of encouraging a reading culture in the society through publication of books. Echono also lamented the amount of resources being spent in sending children abroad for studies, urging universities, especially private universities, to create a niche and compete with foreign universities that are attracting out students in order to save cost. In another development, federal government through the Nigerian Railway Corporation has announced that it has reconnected the Abuja-Kaduna train service line that was bombed by terrorists on March 28, 2022 in Kaduna State. It made this public just as domestic airline raised an alarm over the hike in aviation fuel and its impact on airfares. A statement issued by the NRC and made available to newsmen stated that major track work on the rail line had been completed, adding that services would soon resume on the line. Meanwhile, federal government says the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, will be a game changer. Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyema said the AfCFTA will be the largest free trade area in the world and make doing business easier for countries with seamless access to 54 markets. Away from that, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has said Nigeria has a vibrant, pluralistic and free press which will not have been possible without an enabling environment. He said under the regime of President Muhammadu Buhari, the media will never be seen as a threat but as key partners in the progress of the country. Mohammed, during the UNESCO World Report on Freedom of Expression 2021-2022 at the Regional Forum for West Africa, said they will further provide the leaders, media administrators, practitioners and various stakeholders in the information sector insights into the successes achieved and the multidimensional challenges to freedom of expression and media development. The minister also urged media houses to set up a fact-checking desk to arrest the spread of misinformation and fake news. In politics, the presidential aspirant Oke Ozoho has sued the People's Democratic Party (PDP) for allegedly denying him the opportunity to contest in the May 28 presidential primary. According to reports, the party had fixed its expression of interest and nomination forms at 40 million naira for aspirants vying for the office of the president. The lawyer, in an originating summons marked FCT/CV/144/2022 and filed at the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory (FCT), sued the PDP and the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) as first and second defendants, respectively. Meanwhile, Minister of Niger Delta Affairs and presidential aspirant Godswill Akpabio has declared that Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act as amended which states that no political appointee at any level shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of candidates for any election, however, does not exist. Akpabio noted that the section was non-existent as a court in Abia had rendered it unconstitutional. On electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says fresh registration in the ongoing nationwide continuous voter registration (CVR) has hit 8,855,996 on May 2. The Commission, in its weekly update release and quarterly 4-week 3 in Abuja, said that 5,415,619 had completed their registration. According to reports, those who completed their registration include persons with disability and youths. Also, INEC has received applications for voter transfer, requests for placement of permanent voters card, and changes to voter information records. Away from that, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC) has given electricity distribution companies approval to increase their tariff rates. Reports say the new approval took effect from January 1st and was implemented since February 2022. In a document made available to newsmen, NERC noted that the increase were based on the increased performance improvement plans of the DISCO and indices such as gas price inflation, exchange rate, U.S. inflation rate, and available generation capacity. It added that these indices shall be reviewed in every 6 months to update the tariffs with changes in the indices as applicable in line with MITO. In education, Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities (SANU) and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Universities (NASU) have resumed negotiations with the federal government towards finding a solution to the lingering strike. A resumption of talks between the Joint Action Committee of the unions and the government, NASU's General Secretary Peter Adeyemi said the meeting initiated by the Minister of Labour and Employment Chris Ngige appeared to be yielding some desired results. Speaking at the resumption of talks between the Joint Action Committee (JAC) of the unions and the federal government, NASU General Secretary Peter Adeyemi, who thanked Ngige for his efforts, added that the new permanent secretary of the Federal Ministry of Education, Peter Adejo, was at the latest reconciliation meeting. Still in education, no fewer than 1.7 million candidates are set to take part in the 2022 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination (UTME) nationwide, scheduled to run from May 6th to May 16th. The head media JAM, Dr. Fabian Benjamin, who said that the board had put in place all measures to ensure the smooth conduct of the examination, added that all candidates will be checked into the examination hall using the biometric verification machine (BVM), which is also a register of attendance in line with the board's policy. He further stated that the ban on prohibited items like flash drives, smartwatches, calculators, recorders, mobile phones, spy reading glasses, jewelry, among others, was still in force, hence called on candidates to be careful not to run foul of the law, as necessary sanctions will be meted out to violators of JAM's Code of Conduct. Away from that, Anambra State Governor Chukwuma Soludo has said that gunmen and those armed with sophisticated weapons terrorizing the people are not agitators but criminals who have seen crime as a lucrative business. In an interactive session with landlords in Indonesia, Soludo, who expressed deep concern that despite the extension of invitation by the state government to the gunmen to come out of their hiding and embrace dialogue, the criminals continued in their activities of killing, kidnapping, and destruction because they saw criminality as a lucrative business, added that the landlords and other critical stakeholders in the state had failed to expose them. He noted that the major programs of his administration at present included cleaning up of the state, security of lives and property, and provision of critical infrastructure like roads. Back here, residents in some parts of the Akwa Ibom state capital have decried the poor power supply in the area and the high tariff they pay, which they say had not been complementary with the services they received. Speaking with Spectrum Television, some residents in Akpabio, while acknowledging that they had constant power supply in their areas, lamented the high tariff and pleaded government intervention to work out policies to reduce the cost to help businesses survive in a period of high petroleum prices. Other residents said they were paying monthly bills only to have few days of power supply, noting that the cost of maintaining businesses have been adversely affected by the cost of fueling their generating sets.
Except there's a little fault, maybe somewhere, maybe in the office or maybe around. So you see an old man or old woman paying bills for something he's not benefited for. So our appeal government should look. So there are some areas that, lack of electricity. There are some areas that do lack such thing.
I run generator since morning till evening. Sometimes they will bring light. It will stay up to an hour and they will take it back. And you will still run gen throughout, plus the high cost of fuel now. Some days like last week, we stayed for 4 days, 3 days, not even a flash. But a week they brought bill. There was power supply that 2-3 days. After collecting the bills, I think we have not been seeing it much these days. I would have loved NEPA to do what government told them to do, to supply every citizen with a prepaid meter, not the one they sit down at home and quote. Because most of us, we are using there is no prepaid meter, so they just come give you bill, get the money and go.
And when the energy is too high, it's too cost, people will run away from the business and they will not be able to work. The business will collapse. So I'm appealing for government to do something.
In Africa, Guinea authorities say they will prosecute former President Alpha Condé and 26 of his officials for violence surrounding his bid for a controversial third term in office. The 84-year-old former leader, who was overthrown in a coup d'etat in September by a military junta that now leads the West African country, was accused of several charges, including complicity in murder, abductions, torture, and illegal detentions. According to documents from the General Prosecutor's Office signed by the Attorney General Charles Alphonse Wright, the order for legal proceedings against Condé comes nearly a week after the head of the military junta, Colonel Mamadi Damboya, said that a transition to elections and a return to civilian democratic rule could take more than 3 years. According to the document, Guinea's electoral violence in 2020 killed at least 12 people in the capital and 50 people in other parts of the country. Reports say Condé's bid to extend his rule to a third term after backing a constitutional referendum that altered the term's limit sparked violent demonstrations. Still in Africa, after 1 year of being placed under a stage of siege, residents of Ituri and North Kivu in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo have said the move has not yielded the envisaged results. The move was to secure and put an end to the armed groups that have been sowing terror in the region for more than 25 years. Reports say the Congolese army, Ugandan forces, and the UN's largest peacekeeping mission, MONUSCO, have all been playing their part in a big push against the region's armed groups. Meanwhile, 1 year from the introduction of the security regime, which gave full powers to the military, the population and civil society of North Kivu and Ituri are still waiting for the results. Meanwhile, the Democratic Republic of Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi will host King Philippe of Belgium in June. This is the first visit by the Belgian king to the former colony since the start of his reign in 2013. Reports say the last time a Belgian king visited the country was in 2010 when President Joseph Kabila hosted King Albert II to mark the 50th anniversary of independence. Meanwhile, to mark the 68 years of the independence of the Democratic Republic of Congo, the city of Ghent in Belgium is organizing an official ceremony where the statue of the former King Leopold II will be removed from public display. On a foreign scene, a third operation to pull civilians from Mariupol is due today. This comes as the UN has said more fighting is ongoing over control of a steelworks where the last Ukrainian defenders are holding out. Reports say although Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has already declared victory in Mariupol and ordered its forces to seal off the sprawling industry site, Russia's Vladimir Putin has said his forces are ready to give civilians safe passage, adding that fighters must surrender. Meanwhile, about 200 civilians are believed to be hiding in bunkers in the plant, and the UN chief Antonio Guterres has said everything should be done to get people out of the area. Still on the foreign scene, German Defense Minister Christine Lambrecht has said Germany will send Ukraine 7 self-propelled howitzers on top of 5 artillery systems. The heavy artillery systems being sent to Ukraine have been described by the German military as being among the most modern artillery in the world. Recall that the German government has come under pressure from European allies for being slow off the mark in providing Ukraine with weapons before the country announced its first delivery last month. Reports say most of the heavy weapons NATO countries have sent to Ukraine so far are Soviet-built arms, adding that the US and some other allies have started to supply Kyiv with Western howitzers. Still to come in the news, Mikel Arteta vows to take Arsenal into Champions League as he signs new 3-year deal to stay. Much thanks for staying tuned. On the business news, Federal Operations Unit Zone A of Nigerian Customs Service says it intercepted 7,259 bags of 50 kg foreign parboiled rice, which is equivalent to 12 trucks in April. The service said 12 suspects have so far been arrested by the unit in connection with the seizure of different contrabands and other addressing journalists. Customs Area Controller in charge of the unit, Hossein Ejebunu, said the unit discovered that the bags of rice were not fit for human consumption. Meanwhile, Nigeria made $565.5 million in crude oil and gas export sales in the first quarter of 2022, according to data from the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. The data said the nation made $117.86 million from crude oil exports and $387.72 million from gas feedstocks to Nigeria LNG Limited. The NNPC data also indicates that in January 2022, the nation earned $75.88 million from crude oil and $84.45 million from gas, while in February, the nation earned $13.05 million from crude oil and $159.58 million from gas, and in March, Nigeria earned $88.93 million from crude oil and $143.69 million from gas. In whole, Nigeria's Center for Disease Control has said 22 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory have reported 751 confirmed cases of Lassa fever in 2022. This number, according to the center, is apart from the 4,272 suspected cases reported so far in the country. The center also noted that 140 deaths have been reported so far, adding that Nigeria has continued to witness an increase in the number of Lassa fever cases amidst a decline in COVID-19 cases. NCDC therefore appealed to health workers to maintain a high index of suspicion for the disease, be vigilant and look out for symptoms of Lassa fever, stressing that not all fevers are malaria. Still in health, World Health Organization has said the COVID-19 pandemic killed 13.3 to 16.6 million people in 2020 and 2021. The World Health Organization's long-awaited estimate of the total number of deaths caused by the pandemic, including lives lost to its knock-on effects, finally puts a number on the broader impact of the crisis. Reports say the figures gave a more realistic picture of the worst pandemic in a century. The figures, termed as excess mortality, were calculated as the difference between the number of deaths that occurred and the number that would have been expected in the absence of the pandemic, based on data from early years. In sports, Moses Simon has been named Nantes Player of the Month for April after his impressive form for the Canaries, beating teammates Quintin Malin, Wycliffe Cyprian and Khalifa Koulibaly to the award. It takes over from Malin, who won the award for February and March. The Nigerian international garnered 59.51% of the total votes to emerge the winner. Reports say Simon had a productive April, scoring 3 goals and providing 1 assist in 5 league games in the month, adding that it is the second time he will scoop the award this season, having been voted the club's best player in September 2021 after his impressive performance. Still in sport, Arsenal has announced that Mikel Arteta has signed a contract extension keeping him at the club until the end of the 2024-2025 season, with the manager laying out his ambitions to steer them into the Champions League. The Gunners are currently 4th in the Premier League, meaning they will qualify for a spot at Europe's elite table for the first time in 6 years, and the ambitious Arteta has vowed to take them to the next level. Reports say Arteta has put pen to paper on a new 3-year deal alongside women's boss Jonas Eidevall, with the club opting for a double signing at the Emirates Stadium. On entertainment, popular Barbadian singer Rihanna Fenty and her lover A$AP Rocky have sparked marriage rumors in a new musical video released on Thursday. In the new video for A$AP Rocky's new song, DMB, the rapper starred Rihanna, who is currently expecting their new baby, as the lead character. Recall that A$AP Rocky, in the romantic video, proposed to the singer using his gold-teeth grills, which spelled "Marry Me." Rihanna, clad in a red wedding dress with a matching veil and a bouquet of red roses, responded with her own grill, which spelled "I do." The 3-minute video ended with people throwing flowers, petals at the couple, which is usually done when newlyweds are ushered outside their marriage venue after exchanging vows. Still on entertainment, Nigerian Netflix series Blood Sisters has received rave reviews from viewers barely a day after its debut on the streaming service. Nollywood heavyweights such as Kate Henshaw, Ramsey Noah, Gabriel Afolayan, Nancy Isimi and others appeared in the suspenseful thriller, which premiered on Wednesday. Blood Sisters follows the lives of best friend Sarah, played by Inidima Okoji, and Kemi, as played by Nancy Isimi, who became fugitive after Sarah's abusive fiancé, Kola, played by Adeyemi, Okanlawan disappeared mysteriously just before the wedding ceremony. Speaking on the 4-part thriller, viewers took to Twitter to applaud the actors for their performance in the series. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTV.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News at 2. I am Frank Cizadet. Do have a good afternoon.